Hey girlies, welcome back to another Pilates class. Today we're doing a full body HIIT styled workout with 45 seconds of work followed by 15 seconds of a quick breather before we jump into the next exercise. Stretches are included and all you need is yourself and your mat, so whenever you're ready, roll it out and let's begin. We'll start today with our feet a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. Inhale and reach both arms all the way up, and then exhale, dive forward with those hands in prayer. Take a second here to bend the right knee and then the left, rocking the hips side to side to loosen up those joints. After a couple breaths, take the left hand onto the left calf, and our right arm is going to reach all the way overhead to a side stretch, really opening the chest to the front before we dive back down and repeat on the left side. Exhale as you lower the chest through center, plant the palms on the mat, and start bending those knees. Each time we straighten, we'll try to keep the chest flat on the thighs so that we're increasing the stretch for the hamstrings. Now let the head hang heavy as we interlace the hands overhead and reach towards the front of the room. Let's slowly release those hands, take a slight bend in the knees, and then ripple the spine up to stand center with the head coming last. For our first exercise, we'll turn the heels in and toes to point directly out to the side for some sumo squats. Take the hands to prayer and inhale, drop the hips, exhale, press up. We want to make sure as we take our squat that we're not rolling through our low back, but our hips stay tucked and our tailbone is elongated to the ground. To make this exercise a little bit harder, start reaching the arms overhead as you squat and circling the arms down to your sides as you stand up. We're about halfway through this exercise, so that means just about 20 seconds left, and I want you guys to keep checking in with your breath. Are you inhaling on the way down and exhaling through the mouth on the way up? Just a few more seconds here, and then we'll take our first rest. And pause for a moment just to shake out those hips and breathe. For our next exercise, feet stay where they are and we'll take our hands to prayer again. On our inhale, we'll drop our hips into that sumo squat, and with our exhale, we close over to the left into a lunge, tapping the knee down to the mat before we open back into sumo squat and stand. So again, to sync our breath with this movement, we inhale, drop the hips, exhale, close into lunge, inhale, open into that squat, and exhale, stand up. If you'd like to take this one a little bit further, you can always add in those arms, squeezing the shoulder blades together as you drop the hips and taking the arms to the side before closing them to parallel in lunge and then opening back to stand. Almost there, guys. And rest. Let's take a little side stretch over to the right side of the room and then the left. And then we'll get ready to start that same exact series on the other side. Again, feel free to level this up by adding in those arms and make sure that we're opening the chest by squeezing the shoulder blades together each time we open into that sumo squat. You guys are doing so great. Just make sure that we're not swaying through the low back in the sumo squat and then into the lunge, but that our navel is pulled back to our spine and our hips stay tucked. Just a few more. And rest. For this next one, we'll step the feet together, ankles touching into parallel, and we'll start to roll those shoulders back to lift the chest even higher. Let's take the hands to prayer. Inhale to drop the hips into a parallel squat, and then use your exhale to step out into a wide squat with the left leg, back in, and then out with the right and back. Between each exercise, we'll lift the hips and stretch those hip flexors, tucking the pelvis and squeezing the glutes. The real challenge with this exercise is going to be in keeping those hips low in their squat as you step it out, but while keeping the chest lifted up to the ceiling, which actually takes quite a bit of core strength. Of course, to level it up even further and also challenge the core a little bit more, reach the arms overhead as we take the squat and step out. And let's take a forward fold to rest and stretch it out here. We'll walk our hands over to the left side of the room, step the feet to the right in downward dog, and drive the heels into the mat. For our next exercise, we're going to work our core by shifting into a plank and taking a chaturanga to upward facing dog before we lift the hips back into that downward dog position. I want you guys to intentionally put the work into the lower abs by tucking the hips first as we shift into plank. Make sure you're promoting some great posture by keeping those shoulders down and pressed away from the ears, especially as we shift forward. And let's press back to child's pose after this next one to stretch out those shoulders and take our rest. After a couple deep breaths here, we'll press forward and step the feet out shoulder distance apart into a full plank. Our next exercise is mountain climbers. We're going to use our exhale to pull the knee across the body, tapping the elbow of the opposite arm, and then use our inhale to stretch the legs back out into plank. In this one, it's important to take note of how your shoulders are rolled back and our chest stays lifted, rather than letting the shoulders curl over the heart and lungs. You guys are doing a wonderful job. Just make sure that those hips stay low and we're almost through. Just a couple more. And rest the knees down on the mat. We'll sit back on our heels, interlace our hands behind our back, and really roll the shoulders to open up the chest. Whenever you're ready, come down onto your right side and extend the toes to the front corner of the mat. We'll reach that top arm overhead, and with an exhale, flip the hips up to the ceiling as we take a V-up, reaching for our ankles. Make sure during this exercise that the heels stay glued together rather than the knees and the heels rubbing on top of each other, which tells us that that work is actually put into our spine rather than into our oblique muscles. Really lift the chest up to the ceiling as we reach for our ankles and stretch the body out as long as you can as we roll back down to the mat. Just a couple more. And rest the knees down on the mat. Let's take a little side stretch for those obliques, and then we'll circle the arm back down and swing the legs around to do that on the other side. So again, we use our exhale to flip the hips and reach up with the chest as we tap the ankles, and then our inhale to stretch the body out long and rest the toes down on the mat. Really try to hollow out the belly as we reach into that V-up by pulling the navel back to the spine and exhaling through the mouth. We're almost there, guys. Keep it up. Just a couple left. And fold those knees in. We'll take a side stretch on this side for our obliques, and then we'll circle that arm back down. We just have a couple exercises left in our HIIT workout today, and for this next one, we'll step it back into a downward dog. We start this one by shifting the shoulders forward into plank and then driving the hips up as we reach that hand across the body to tap the opposite ankle. Make sure that those shoulders are pressing actively down into the mat and that we're breathing really naturally in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're already about halfway there, guys. Let your heart rate continue to rise and we'll work quickly and efficiently. Let's do one more. And gently lower the knees down to the mat. We'll cross the ankles and come down to sit on our glutes before scooting to the center of the mat and rolling down to our forearms with our fingertips pointed towards our feet. Our last exercise is going to be a boat to low boat, so we'll start with those toes extended at a 45-degree angle, and then we press through the palms to lift the chest and draw the knees in for a full boat. Of course, we want to work our lower core in this exercise, so the closer you can get the chest and the thighs to each other, the better. If you'd like to level this one up even further, take those hands off the mat and reach them towards the ankles in parallel the whole time. We're already almost there, guys. Finish strong, keep moving. And we have 3, 2, and 1. Rest those feet down on the mat. Let's reach our arms overhead and finish class with some really important stretching. And then if you'd like, you can always repeat this video for another round. Let's take that left hand around our right ankle and we'll take a little twist, lifting the heel up to the ceiling and looking back at our hand behind us. We want super straight legs and lifted chests here to really get into that outer glute as well as the hamstring. Gently lower that leg back down to the mat and we'll jump over to the other side, pulling the knee in before extending the heel up to the ceiling in our twist. And slowly lower back down. Let's finish class sitting in crisscross in the center of the mat, rolling those shoulders back, and as always, taking a deep breath, exhaling everything out. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We had so much fun in this HIIT workout. Remember, if you'd like to do another round, you can just repeat the video, and I'll see you guys next week for another Pilates class.